With all their releases, Native Instruments is on a serious roll, and even more serious is the fact that they're killing my pockets. What's up guys, Barry here, and if it's your first time to the channel, we talk about beat making and music production within the Maschine. So if that's your thing, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. With that said, in today's video, we're going to take a look at Native Instruments' new Kontakt instrument, Piano Colors. So what is Piano Colors? Piano Colors is a prepared grand piano where a variety of unorthodox materials were used to capture a breathtaking array of lively resonances, articulate harmonics, and colorful overtones. It's a Kontakt instrument made in collaboration with Galaxy Instruments that can be used with Native Instruments' free Kontakt player or Kontakt version 6.53 or higher. So similar to all Kontakt instruments or libraries, you can access the presets, aka snapshots, from this drop-down menu. So you have some piano, pattern, pad, and combined groups for a total of 240 snapshots. But if you're opting to use the user interface, on the top left, you'll see a left and right arrow which will allow you to toggle between the different snapshots. Furthermore, clicking on the text will bring up this browser menu, which will allow you to navigate through the different snapshots based on these key tag words. And on the top right, you'll see a check mark or an X, which is really handy if you're just auditioning sounds. Hitting the X will bring you back to the home page without making any changes. In the middle of the interface, you'll find an expression knob, where you can assign a number of presets to, which then allows you to modulate those parameters all at once. And on the bottom of the interface, you'll find your module row, where you'll find your 4 different sound generators. So you have a noise generator, 2 layers, and your particle generator. Each sound generator has its own volume control. And as a shortcut tip, pressing Command-click on your mouse will bring all of your change parameters back to 0. A super handy feature is the solo button that you can find if you hover just to the left of any of your 4 sound generators. To the left of the volume fader, you'll find a modulation icon. Dragging it up or down will allow you to adjust the modulation for that parameter, which then is globally controlled by the expression knob at the top. And once again, Command-click will reset those parameters back to 0. Above the volume fader, you'll find your sound generator's presets. You can toggle between them using the left and right arrows, and similar to snapshots, you can click on the text to access this browser menu. On the bottom left, you'll find Piano Colors' incredibly powerful Arpeggiator, which you can route your noise to, as well as both or either layers 1 or 2. And similar to your sound generators, the Arpeggiator comes with a number of presets as well. Lastly, on the far right, you'll find the global controls, which we'll go into further details later on in this video. Whether you're selecting layer 1 or layer 2, the same page will appear. And we know that we have snapshots and presets, but at its core, we also have sources. And depending on the source that's selected, you'll see some different parameters on this menu. You can access the different sources by clicking on the text just above the faders. If your source is reversed, you'll get this reverse time fader. If your source is a pad, you'll have the option to double the sound. And the last additional button is if your source is a pluck. If your source is a pluck, you'll get this tight button. Otherwise, your layer page will look like this. Towards the middle of your layer page, you'll have your effects. The first set of effects are your modulation effects. And in terms of modulation effects, you get a total of 9 different effects, which all have a large amount of presets included. Each layer allows you to combine up to 4 different modulation effects, which you can also reconfigure. You also have an EQ that you can find in the channel section. Clicking on the text will allow you to adjust the frequency range. And as you adjust the frequency range, the descriptive words above change as well. Moving on to the space section, you get an unbelievable amount of reverbs. So if we're to go into the convolution reverbs, for example, and select Mystique, you can see how many presets you can use as a starting point to sculpt your sound. And And right below the expression knob, you have this handy link button, which allows you to connect the spaces between both layer 1 and layer 2. And on the bottom of the effects section, you have motion, which allows you to modulate your layer based on an LFO or a step sequencer. And similar to all the other functions within Piano Color, the motion section has no shortage in options. You get a crazy assortment of LFOs, as well as a lot of presets for the step sequencer. Piano Color has your standard pedal noise. But in addition to that, there's a ton of features that'll add some texture to your sounds. The mechanical section will add that texture and realism to your sound. The attack section is where you'll find the unique materials used to prepare the grand piano. The pianist section adds some randomness, such as the player moving around on his bench. And last but not least, we have the noise section, which adds that much more value to an already very impressive Kontakt instrument. And for those lo-fi beat makers, it has some vinyl noise. And if you need even more ambience for your lo-fi beats, Piano Colors also has some rain noise. Similar to layers 1 and 2, particles also require some sources, which you can access on the right side of the particles page. Within your particles, you can combine up to 2 sources. And you can blend the 2 signals using the fader in between the 2 sources. And once again, we have the modulation icon, which you can use to send to the expression knob. On the opposite end, you'll find the different particle modes. The quantize function is handy if you want a consistent pulse while playing live. So those were some broken chords with quantize off. And those were the same broken chords with quantize on, and you can hear the particles are more uniform. Below you'll find your density slider, which will dictate the amount of particles that are generated. And on the very right, you'll find the effects tab, where you can combine up to 2 different effects, similar to the ones that we found in the modulation effects tab within the different layers. And if you just want to go through the particles presets, you can find them down in the module row. To route to the Arpeggiator, all you have to do is select the sound source in the module row. Your top slider will dictate your Arpeggiator's time. Selecting the plus sign next to it opens up your step mode, which you can use to further develop your sequence. When it comes to arpeggiators, I tend to always use the presets. And similar to everything else in Piano Colors, the Arpeggiator has no shortage of presets. And lastly, we have the global page. And honestly, with how jam-packed and detailed the rest of the instrument is, It's super refreshing to only see an EQ and some dynamic controls in this page. You can use the EQ to sculpt your sound, which will allow it to sit better in your mix. In addition, you can use the dynamic section to glue all your different layers together. To save your snapshot or preset, you're going to press on the floppy disk looking icon and give your sound a name. And to recall that snapshot, you're going to go to that drop-down menu where we first found our presets. You're going to go to the User tab, and there you'll find your newly made Piano Colors snapshot. Before we get to my final thoughts on Piano Colors, I want to share with you guys a quick little beat I made using its presets. Alright guys, so that's a quick overview on Native Instruments Piano Colors, as well as a quick little beat I made using its presets. And honestly, I'm super happy that I picked it up, as I truly believe that the opportunity for discovering, as well as creating different sounds and textures is endless. I honestly can't think of another Kontakt instrument or library to compare it to. Down in the comments, let me know your thoughts on Piano Colors. Hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already, and happy beat making. Peace.